right, let's dive in. Modern Sages, Soul Tribe. Hello, hello, hello. I just walked up the stairs and I am out of breath. Are you searching? Are you looking for something new, something different? Are you being called to your ancestral roots? The Modern Sages podcast is a tribe of women that believe in exploring beyond the broken constructs of society. We believe in empowering women to embrace the medicine within, all with an open mind, baby. So I feel really excited to come back in the beginning of 2023, feeling a lot more aligned. Whew, I really can't breathe. Let's just take a minute to center ourselves and allow myself to get a little bit of breath. Taking 3 deep breaths in. So blessed to be here in this physical world. So grateful for this time to connect to those who are seeking and understanding and embracing their own unique medicine. So grateful for this time to connect and to chat. I already feel more centered. I have been using the breath recently to really help me navigate and cope a lot of things going on in life that have been a little bit difficult. So I really have wanted to kind of shift into this Modern Sages podcast as of right now, being really drawn into the space of embracing, of course, embracing the medicine within. And I know it's easy to watch people on YouTube who maybe are living in the mountains and have this little cottage and are really doing more of the off grid or the gardening or having this magical space in which it feels like, oh, of course they can be more connected to their own unique medicine because they have that kind of a lifestyle. And of course, that's not doable for everybody at the time. And I'm hoping at some point in my life I'll have that opportunity. But as of right now, I live in an amazing city. We're surrounded by neighbors, we're surrounded by the hustle and bustle. And so, really, I wanted to just take a time and to share what I have been doing recently to reconnect to my own unique medicine. And in my past episode, I talked a lot about spending time with my grandmother who has passed through journey work and what she gave me in guidance for connecting to our ancestors during the holiday season. And if you haven't listened to that, I would definitely recommend to do so. I've really enjoyed learning and implementing that into my own space. And on top of that, I shared some changes and some things going on within my own life that I was learning to cope and to navigate and to embrace in that aspect. And life is very unexpected. Nothing is set in stone. The only thing that is set in stone is that change will always come. We'll always be embracing change and experiences. And so I just wanted to share first what I have been doing as far as herbs go to reconnect into that medicine within, to reconnect into that divine connection to my ancestors and to Mother Earth. And as I look into that and as I even experience that, being very visual within myself, it's almost like I'm seeing as I integrate these things and as I put that effort in, even if it's something simple, it is like weaving myself back. I like see these DNA strands, just like weaving myself back into that ancient culture, into those ancient wise medicine ways that were used for healing in so many beautiful aspects. And I also see that being a web where we, as connected to Mother Earth, she gives us so much and we can give back. And I just see this network of energy and everything is connected in that sense. And so, some of the things that I've been really using to reconnect myself into that beautiful web of energy and to aliven my own frequency in that web of energy, as I talked about, feeling a little bit more low in energy and not as creative and wanting to kind of take a step back and to breathe and to regroup. I'm still very much so in that space. And I know that that's also connected to Yule. It's also connected to the winter season of reconnecting within, re refocusing, allowing ourselves to rest, reconnect, refocus, reconnect, refocus, and rest is really what I have been feeling called to. And it's not always easy. So, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. I want to go back to the herbs that I have been using. So, there are a few things that I've done that have helped me feel a little bit more, you could say like witchy or a little bit more connected into that medicine. And one of them was at our grocery store. They had sage, um, fresh sage bun, like sage that was on sale. And I ended up getting some of that I was like, oh, this is going to be a perfect opportunity to let it dry out and then either create my own sage bundles or I can even cut them into smaller pieces or break them into smaller pieces and use them on a charcoal disc as ceremonial sage. And so I got a few packs of those and I've been drying those out and spending time to pray over them and set my intention along with I got thyme as well. And thyme is really a beautiful herb and we used it in a burning ceremony on New Year's Eve that I'll talk about that just brings in this sense of rebirth and regrouping in this beautiful space. So that's been going on. And the other thing that I have been really going through is we are back in Utah, which is very snowy, and there's not many, you can't really see the sun right now. And it can be a little bit dark and depressing. And I definitely get seasonal depression or seasonal heaviness without seeing the sun and having that in my space. And so I have gotten liquid sunshine. It's like vitamin K2 and D3 together. And I got it in a tincture as a way of helping boost that space of needing that sunshine, needing those herbs and those vitamins that we get from Mother Earth and from the sunshine, along with holy basil. Holy basil is really beautiful for a natural, um, helps boost our energy, but it can also give us better mental clarity. And when we are feeling a little bit more down or low or heavy, it can be a really good boost without having to take any other kind of prescription medications. And every winter I get like this, and that's why I was really excited to be in Georgia over the summer and over this year because I was like, oh, it'll be a really great winter. And then we ended up back in Utah. And there's a lot of things that I've been learning in the process. Some really good, and some everything has a purpose. There's always a higher divine intervention in all things, I believe. Um, but it's been a tough lesson for sure. And I think that's kind of where I wanted to lead into really. Oh, and the other thing that's making me feel really, really warm and fuzzy inside when there's so much going on is lavender coffee. I love anything lavender. Lavender lemonade is amazing. And lavender coffee. I get a cold brew with like a cream on top and then some lavender in there. I went to a coffee shop with a woman who I was meeting up with for the first time, and I'm really excited to start working with her. She's an amazing healer, but I got lavender coffee there, and oh, it tasted so good. It's just something so good for the soul to help boost and bring that sense of spirit and freedom and peace back into this space. So it was really beautiful and definitely necessary and has been very needed in my life right now. So, having that been said, I've been thinking a lot about spiritual gifts, and I think that a lot of people have been wounded in the aspect of believing that they received an answer or trusting their intuition, and that intuition maybe didn't play out the way that they thought it would. And it can be easy to get into the space of like, oh, I can't trust myself anymore. How am I supposed to trust myself? I felt so confident and I felt so reassured about this situation. And now look where I'm at. This is a big wound for many people. And this is also a big wound that holds people back from embracing their own spiritual gifts. And I myself, honestly, have been experiencing this right now. And that's why I'm talking about it is, even throughout having sessions, I have had people say, I've experienced things and then I questioned myself or it didn't work out. So how can I trust myself anymore? And they've cut off that flow of divine intervention. And it's easy to do. It's easy to be in that space. And so I've had many different experiences that, I received a prompting or I thought I had. No, I did receive the prompting. And then it just didn't turn out the way that I planned. And it's easy to be in that space of, I can't trust myself. What was I thinking? People are going to think I'm crazy. There's just a plethora of things that we can, shoulda, woulda, coulda gone through that actually isn't even effective or helpful. And I wanted to share that even in that space, when working with other people, there are times where people are like, should I do this or should I do that? And I'm not one who's gonna like look into the future or share those things. I mean, I have had in the past times where, a baby will come forward and be like, hey, I do feel like there's this little baby around you. And then they might get pregnant a little bit later or different things like that. And I try to refrain from really trying to tell people about their future, fortune telling, because everyone has their own choice and their own agency. And I myself have gone to people who have been very spiritually gifted, and maybe I didn't even go to them, and they gave me a message that has really affected me in a not so positive way and has caused major ripples in my life. And I also know that being someone who does channel and offering different ideas and different options, that I probably have caused ripples in other people's life. And I hate saying that and I hate being in that space because I feel like we think, oh, that's bad, that's wrong. Like you're stepping outside of your wheelhouse. But in the process of learning, everybody does. As a healer, as someone who's interested in deepening their intuition or their connection, you have to learn how to do that. You have to learn, and you can't be perfect right away. And at the same time, you also really want to be aware of the impact that you may be having on other people, which is why I think having boundaries and really honoring someone else's agency comes into play. And there's so many different directions that I can take this conversation that I'm just kind of allowing spirit to direct. I'm just going to check in to see which direction to go first. Trusting. So many of us are in the space of lack of trust. And I want to take it from the angle that we all come here for a reason. We all come here, I'm a big believer in before we came here, we were a spirit, we were this high divine essence of love and of light. And then we drop, so you could say like we drop into these bodies and we experience this duality. We experience happiness, sadness, joy, laughter, struggle, pain. We experience all of it. And then once we've experienced everything that we need to, we leave this body and we move back into the spirit realm to maybe do it again or to grow in different ways. And it almost feels like, why and what's the purpose? What's the purpose of being here? Why are we doing this? And why? And as I sit with that, and as I've been contemplating that myself, we came back to Utah and we came in how do I word this? In an not acceptance, but with the expectation for it to be one way with this job that my husband was working with. And when we got here, we realized, and it was really exciting. There felt like a lot of great possibilities. It felt like yes. And I leaned into this situation multiple times, and every single time it was just like a gut yes. And it felt so aligned, it felt so connected, it felt so right. And then as we got here, what was expected, the expectations that I and my husband had were definitely not what was the reality. And it's been a lot to navigate through. It's been difficult. There's been pros and cons, and it's been something that I have struggled with. And honestly, I didn't want to leave Georgia. I love it out there. I love being around family and friends, don't get me wrong. But there's something about the South that calls me, and it helps me feel when there's green everywhere and vegetation just growing in vines, and it just brings a different sense of aliveness. It brings a different sense of this awakened energy inside myself, and it feels so grounding and it feels so connecting. And then the day we moved into our house here, it was snowing, it was gloomy, and it just felt like there was this cloud of this sadness almost that came into my space of missing that greenery. And I've said, okay, we're here. I'm going to make the very best of it. And things just haven't worked out how we expected them to. And it's just that space of expectation, and expectation on other people and on myself. So we're here and everything's stressful. There's high anxiety, high stress within me and within Curtis. And it just doesn't feel peaceful. And going from a space of having a lot of peace, a lot of freedom, to being thrown into this fiery energy, it just feels so betraying and so let down and so heavy. And I just keep asking myself, why? Why in the heck is this going on? And why couldn't I have seen? Why didn't I know with what I do? How come I didn't know that this was a thing? Like, how come I didn't know that we were being led to believe one thing when there was other things going on? And I get a lot of that was the own expectation that we had placed on ourselves, but it was also what we've been told. And I just kept sitting with that. And the more I saw that, the more things kept unraveling and unfolding. I just kept getting angrier and angrier and angrier. And I tend to not be a very angry person. I've had experiences where I have had anger spits, but it's very far few and in between. Um, and being out here, I have just felt very angry and this deep sense of feeling dead inside. Like I have felt completely dead. Like, why? What's the point? Like, I feel so deceived. I feel like I couldn't trust myself, my own intuition. It felt so heartbreaking. And then it just kept unraveling deeper and deeper and deeper. And it just felt more and more heavy and more deceived. And it's a good lesson to learn. But it also has put me into that spiral of saying, well, how come I didn't know? Why didn't I see that? How come I wasn't warned in that space? Because I felt so aligned with this, even though I didn't want to move back, even though I really love being in the South. And I'm going to be completely honest. I love being able to see family and friends. And that's like the biggest bonus being here. But my soul longs to be back in Georgia. And so I just have been angry. And that's also why I have been doing those little things like taking holy basil to help boost. And that's actually just been for like a couple of days now because I've been like, okay, I really need something to help me to help boost this space that I'm in and to help me and to be with that. And I know we think like, okay, there's a reason we've been called back here, even if things don't work out in this space, who knows what that's going to look like. Like, of course, we're back into this space for a reason and trusting that, but that doesn't make it mean that it's any easier or that you want to or that you're happy about it because that's how I feel. And that's totally fine. But it's also okay to acknowledge that and to feel that and to not make it wrong. And also to not lose touch with our own intuition and our own guidance. Because going back to us dropping into this body and why we're here in the cosmos, why we chose to be in this human form, what I've come to understand is really to strengthen and to grow our spirit, to have experiences, but to also heal and to help others grow in these soul contracts and in these pods. And I see people coming in pods of souls to this world and I have explored past lives and I'm a believer of them and I believe that we can have relationships and friendships and connections come with us in different aspects of life. And I also have been really listening a lot to different things about the witch wound and about when the patriarchy came in and kind of forced a lot of those who were more in that pagan tradition or more in that connecting to the land, using Mother Earth, using, medicine men and women to help heal, to be really connected, and how they kind of demonized all of that and shut it down. Like, if you want to get to heaven, you have to not go to those people, not listen to people who are gifted, and just like fall in line and fall in suit for what it is that we have to offer. And I've also been really feeling drawn and I've gotten back into my family history. This is a crazy story. So I have been trying to get onto my family search for, I don't know, 3 years at this point. And I kept getting locked out and things wouldn't work. And finally I was like, okay, if I'm supposed to, like my ancestors, I need you to open up the way because I have been trying for so long. I've done so many things and it hasn't worked. And finally I was like, okay, today I'm going to just try it one more time. And I finally got in. Like, and it was easy and it was effortless. And it took like 3 years to try to get it done. So as I've been sitting in there and I've been looking and reading back about my family's history and about those who have gone before me, I have had a deep understanding and a deep sense of connection for those who also experience that shutting down or that fear or that resentment. Like, you can't go to a medicine man or woman, you have to come to us. You have to pay us for us to give you guidance or for us to read you these holy texts. Like, you have to be paying us, or in order to be worthy, you have to pay us. And there was a lot of fear and a lot of heaviness. And at some point, I think I'll do a whole podcast on that because it's a big thing. It's a huge thing that I think a lot of us are experiencing. But as I've been going through this experience of us being here and things not working out how we anticipated them to, or they not being what we expected, I can't help but connect to my ancestors who left Denmark, who left their Eastern European areas, and they traveled to this new area, this new land, and it wasn't what they expected. And not only that, there was a lot of control, a lot of betrayal, a lot of, you could say, manipulation that they also experienced. And they might not have been really aware of that going into it, or they had this expectation of like, oh, I'm going to follow, I'm going to follow suit. I'm going to do these things. I feel like this is going to be a good life for me. I feel good about it. And then getting here is completely different, possibly, than what they experienced. And as I've been learning that, I've learned also that there was a lot of people getting land and having land to have a homestead, but also being expected to show up and to put their time and their energy and their money into building up different communities or congregations or different churches and the structure that came with it. And I'm so grateful for all that they did to put forth in that space. And I can completely lean in and understand how they could have felt and how I do feel some of them did feel because I have connected into that space of this un not meeting expectations and also this questioning of how come I can trust myself or what was I thinking or why is this happening again? And I feel like it's a deep wound that my family has struggled with in the past and things that are showing up in my life. And I think that that's where so much anger comes from. Not only does it come up with my childhood wounds, which I've been sitting with, but I think it also has been something that my ancestors experienced of this disappointment of leaving something for, in quotation, something better and then feeling let go or let down. And not only that, is that other people have their own agency. And so, relying upon someone or having those expectations and putting that upon someone else is also not fair because that person is also human and they're also learning and growing and navigating and going back to those soul contracts. I feel like I'm kind of bouncing around, but hopefully it will make sense. But even going back into those soul contracts, each and every one of us is going through our own spiritual growth. And when I feel let down or I feel betrayals or I feel misguided, I want to cut out everybody. I just want to burn the bridges down. And I know that's not healthy. And I'm working on that. But it is a great reminder that even though things haven't turned out that way, and even though my own intuition, I felt so prompted to, it doesn't mean it's always going to turn out because other people have their own agency. Or maybe it isn't the proper timing because we have to learn something different. And I know that when we went to Georgia, we grew up where where he grew up, and he had a lot of heavy things he experienced in his childhood. And going back there, he was forced to face a lot of those things. And it was such a beautiful experience. And then we come back here, and I'm like, okay, I need to face some things that are popping up clearly that I have been experiencing. And I think this is relatable to so many people, whether it be someone who is fearful of stepping into gifts of spirit, or maybe they've had promptings. Maybe you've had a prompting and you've tried to follow it and it hasn't worked out, or maybe you felt really good about this relationship and that relationship didn't work out, or moving to this area or a career. Instead of seeing this as the end all be all, this is a beautiful space to welcome in the opportunity of soul lessons. That we are here experiencing this world for those soul lessons. And even though things aren't working out how we anticipated, they can be far better, but they can also be a great space of growth, and a great deep healing energy can be associated with them if we allow that to happen. And that is hard as hell. It's not easy at times, but when we can take a step back, and when I can take a step back and honor those who came before me, honor those who let go of everything to start a fresh new life, and also feeling disappointed in some ways. Like I can feel that and I can honor that and I can be with that because I'm being with it with myself as well. And then also giving freedom to those who maybe feel like they've wronged me, is seeing them as a soul, seeing them as a higher being here, also experiencing their life, whether it be, things that we don't approve of, or addictions or decisions. Like all we can do is honor someone's soul and honor their journey. But I'm also learning that honoring someone's journey doesn't mean that you have to leave those toxic energies in your space or allow them to cultivate and to make you more angry or to hold you back from being able to find your own rhythm or your own medicine in life. And when there's drama and there's heaviness and there's a lot going on, it can feel easy to give that power away to everybody else. And reclaiming it is a whole lot harder. And I'm in the process of learning that right now. And it's definitely not easy, but I know it's worth it. And I also honor and respect the fact that we all have soul lessons and we also have agency. We get to choose how we want things to show up or what we want to do. And it's also important that we honor other people's agency because even if we say something, or even if we think, okay, it's going to turn out this way or this way or this way, first of all, we have our own expectations that we need to look at because that's still not healthy to have expectations on somebody else if they don't know. And even if they do know, seeing them for a spirit in this journey. And that's hard. But it's so liberating at the same time. It brings a deeper sense of freedom. It can bring a deeper sense of honor and honestly of compassion and self-love. And it can welcome in new opportunities of things that maybe weren't on the docket before. And moving into that new space of co-creating and creating a new area, a new reason, a new purpose for what we have in store. And I've been experiencing that. And I also have experienced when maybe I've gone to someone or I've taken advice from somebody and it was like, whoa, that didn't work out the way it was. That wasn't anticipated. Everyone has their agency. And as a channeler, you can only give guidance to the aspect of someone's agency. And that's why I try to refrain from, giving people relationship advice. If I should stay with this person, if I shouldn't, that's up to you. That's up to that experience. I have no control over that. And nor do I want to. And then I've had like, oh, should I move here? Should I do this? Should I do that? Well, it's like, well, what do you feel aligned with? And at the same time, you have your agency, but others have their agency as well. And I think that's also where I've been sitting with and understanding is yes, there are times where things go amazing. And there are times where I'm like, I don't know why I felt that. I don't know what the point of that was. And I don't know why I even acted on that because I felt so prompted and yet it didn't work out that way. But if we can sit back and see, okay, there's major lessons in all of this. There is a higher understanding, a higher spiritual undergrowth, even just a deeper sense of power and a sense of worth and a sense of who we are can come from it if we allow ourselves to experience that. And that's a good reminder for myself as well. And I think starting out the new year, even if we have these expectations of goals of what we should do or shouldn't do, and then we maybe fail or we don't feel like we're being successful at them, I don't know. I just feel like grace and compassion is a great area to also lean into and to know that we're not alone and that we're going to be provided for in whatever way is suitable at that time. It's just choosing to see all experiences as a deeper sense of soul growth. And that's not always easy. And I've had days recently, like even yesterday, I was so angry. I just was boiling inside. And I hate feeling that way. And I was like, I need to do something because I can't just keep spiraling in this circle. It's not healthy for me. It's harming me. And I started to go and to do a meditation or a breath work. And as I was following along on YouTube of this breathing channel, all of a sudden I just started sobbing and tears were streaming down my face. And I just needed to let it go. I needed to get outside of my body because it was eating me up inside and I could not do it anymore. And it's just choosing every day to honor that and to not make it bad and to not make it wrong, but to also see that this is part of the human journey and Where have I given expectations that are not healthy? Or where have I let those on somebody else and I'm holding grudges towards them? And vice versa for myself. And I think also as a healer and as someone who does channeling, it can be easy to almost feel bad yourself. Maybe you gave a message or you did something and then that person wasn't as receiving towards it. And then all of a sudden you're like, man, I'm bad and I'm wrong. And talking about this makes my throat close up because it feels like there's this unspoken energy in this field of life that if you make a mistake or if you don't get something right, that you are in alignment with the dark forces versus with the light forces. And that right there stops people completely from embracing the things that they're really called to do because of that. Because if they're not correct or if they're wrong, maybe they think they're deceived, or maybe someone else is deceived, or you're deceiving somebody else. And I've experienced that. And like even saying, like, sometimes I'm not always accurate, or sometimes I am receiving something and I'm seeing something and I'm trying to describe it. And that person takes it in a way that they understand. And I could be like, oh, I wasn't meaning it that way, but they got it the way they understood it was what they needed. And sometimes the channel doesn't make sense to somebody. Sometimes it's like, I don't know what that means, or I felt really good about that. And then things didn't work out as we thought it would during the call. And I think that's also where a lot of people shut down and stop having people come into their space, or they stop doing those things. And I've sat with that a lot in the past couple months. I've taken a break from sessions, and I don't know if I've felt more of that energy like scooting in, and maybe I need to sit with that a little bit more, but like questioning or feeling bad. But nobody is perfect. Nobody. Even a surgeon, even if they could have done everything perfectly and the person they're working on still didn't survive, right? I mean, that's a very extreme space, but nobody's perfect. Part of learning is experiencing, part of mastering is doing, and we're not going to be perfect. But yet, if we're so worried about that, we never get started. And so, I don't know. I feel like this conversation's had a lot of different outlets, and I don't even know if it's made sense, but it's been something on my mind and something that I know that I can sit with and add into my space and learn and cultivate within myself, because it's something that I know my ancestors experienced. And I know a lot of us experience at some point in our life, whether it be emotions, distrusting ourselves, feeling betrayed, putting blame on somebody else, feeling so angry you can hardly freaking breathe. It's part of being human. And it's freaking tough at times. But if we can remember, we're just this big higher spirit having this worldly experience, it can bring a little more understanding. At least it does for me in this aspect. So I hope that this conversation gave you some guidance or brought you in your space. My throat is like, I'm having a hard time speaking because it's things that I myself also needed to hear. And as I've talked about these things, it's almost like cultivated a space of love in my own life. And for that, I am truly grateful. Even though it's hard, and I'm learning to navigate this heavy anger that honestly I don't experience often. Oof, but it sure is brutal when it shows up. But that's okay. We keep moving forward. And that's also part of embracing the medicine within. And part of honoring that is I was working with this teenager who she's been going through a lot. And I talked to her about having different outlets and having a medicine shelf. So just like we have a shelf that has Tylenol, NyQuil, Dayquil, Band-Aids, right? We all have one of those. Well, most people do. But there's also a medicine shelf that we can have, and that can literally be full of herbs and supplements and different things that can help you feel connected. But it also is tools. And as I worked with Candace, the shaman, um, she kept giving me tools that I used that she said, this is to put into your medicine bag. And this can be used when you feel like you need it. And also, you can help teach other people so that they don't feel alone, or they have different ways of being able to use those things. So, as an example, is I was Reiki certified. So I did Reiki for a little bit. That helped me open up my gifts more. And then I taught Reiki to a couple ladies, and that helped me feel more connected into Reiki. And then it helped them learn that so they could do that themselves. And then I got certified in reflexology. And I use that sometimes, or I'll go get that done for myself. But having those as tools in my medicine bag is something that's beautiful. And breath work has been a really great tool that's on my medicine shelf that I will use. Journaling and writing, and honestly, channeling is one of my, it really is one of my ways of healing myself is through channeling. And I'm just realizing that right now. And I've been fighting it a little bit. Yes. Okay. I accept that. It's just in these spaces, right? This is part of being a medicine woman, and connecting and owning that medicine within, and being vulnerable about it and being honest about it. Like, it's not really fun to say, yeah, I've been battling with mega anger and really angry and pushing my energy towards other people. Like, that person wronged me and betrayed me. And that's not healthy for me, nor is that healthy for that other person. It's there. It's good to acknowledge it, but it's also a space of learning to navigate with that and having the different kinds of tools that will work, because I have tried to sit and to do journey work and to meditate, and I've had some powerful experiences, but more than most, I have just felt like, ugh, I fall asleep, or I'm like, I didn't really get anything, or what's wrong with me? I can't do this. I can't do that. And so that's when it's important to take a different tool off of the medicine shelf and to try something different. I have had a lot of people who were taught, okay, you need to read your scriptures or pray or go to the temple or go to the church. And that's how you can receive answers. And when those things aren't working at times, it's like, well, I don't feel connected. I feel angry. I feel bitter. I feel like I'm not worthy. It's okay to add different tools to help you feel connected to the divine. And maybe that's journaling, maybe that's yoga. Honestly, like I went to a um kickboxing class, and that brought out a whole different energy in myself, and it made me feel more connected to myself. Kickboxing, out of all things, when I was taught you need to sit quietly and pray and really go in, well, I was like pounding that bag, and it brought this different space within myself. And I can't make that bad or wrong, that sitting in meditation hasn't worked for me as well as it has in the past. But when I journaling does, or when I'm listening to music, or when I'm working out, it makes me feel more connected. And so leaning into that and not making it bad and wrong, if the things that have been so helpful in the past aren't working, not making that bad and wrong either. It's just welcoming new tools into your medicine bundle that you can use that are going to help you feel more connected, regardless of what it is. Of course, you don't want to harm anybody or harm yourself in the process, but I mean, that's a give. I feel like that's just common sense 101. Maybe that was rude to say, but my thoughts. So it's just giving ourselves that space and that honor and that love and that compassion. And going back to the sage that I got at the grocery store. Yeah, some may say, well, that's not like right off of the land and that's not going to work. It's not infused with all of these different things. But for myself, it is a way that I can connect. It is a way that I can put my intention, even if it was bought at the grocery store and I didn't grow it myself. It's a way that I can bring that back into my own self, into my own space, even if someone else is like, that is ridiculous. But it's all about the intention and it's all about what we're willing to do to reconnect back to that web of self, that web of our higher self, that web of connecting to others, connecting to Mother Earth, and connecting to the ancestors. And it's all possible. It's just if something's not working, try something different. Try a different medicine bundle that you have. And if you don't have anything, maybe Google stuff. Maybe Google someone who's teaching that. Or I always love YouTube. I always go to do journeys and meditations and find something that's going to work for you right now to feel connected, to embrace that medicine within. Even if what you're experiencing is not what you want to see. I don't want to see the anger inside of me. Why would I want to see that? And yet, if I push it away, it keeps coming up. And I'm learning that. And it's a lesson. It's a soul lesson. And it is okay. It is holy. I don't want to say it's good because good or bad is not effective. It doesn't have the highest flow of frequency, but it is part of the learning process. So, anyways, I'm rambling at this point. So, I just wanted to take time, beautiful soul tribe. If you haven't joined the Facebook group, in my hiatus, I haven't really posted much on there, but I hope to get back to doing that, hosting classes, whether it be a sand painting ceremony, different journeys, different ways of connection, oracle nights, medium session nights, channeling, even just allowing other people to practice. Like, I really want to dive back into that space. But I'm just honoring where I'm at, honoring the process and not making it wrong. Because when I make it wrong, I set the flow, I stop the flow of everything. And then I shut down. And I think we can all relate to that. So, anyways, if you haven't joined, there's going to be a show notes. In the show notes, there will be a link in that aspect to join. So, anyways, beautiful soul tribe, I wanted to thank you so much for just listening to these ramblings of being a modern day medicine woman and integrating that into my own life. And I hope that this has inspired you to want to do the same. This is so funny, so vulnerable, and still so good. So, anyways, I love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. Do you feel called to connect to your medicine within? Have you wanted to strengthen your spiritual gifts? Are you looking for ways to incorporate the sacred into your everyday life? Maybe do you want to have like-minded friends in a tribe who can connect with you? Modern Sages Soul Tribe is dedicated to spiritual seekers like yourself who are embracing the medicine within. Now, in this tribe, we are going to be doing moon gatherings, amazing spiritual gift giveaways, connecting to a soul tribe, as well as hosting mystery school classes. If you are feeling called to connect to the soul tribe, I will leave a link for you in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening to Modern Sages Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us online. Blessings.